Forget what school told you. That was the boring, squeaky clean version of history. The actual reality is a total mess of scams, epic fails, and egos bigger than Texas. In this video, we're taking 15 of the most famous historical legends and tossing them straight into the garbage. We're talking mobsters who completely lied about how they got their scars, and geniuses who were just massive freeloaders. This is the truth behind the grand statues. Number 1. Socrates, Ancient Greece, the original internet troll. Everyone thinks Socrates was this wise, calm philosopher. Total fabrication. The guy was a public nightmare, an absolute world-class troll operating without a screen. Seriously, imagine the most annoying internet commenter who walks up to you in public and hits you with, "Wait, you actually think that?" His whole method wasn't gentle learning. It was a public shaming routine. He'd corner powerful people and verbally destroy them with gotcha questions until they looked like total morons. When Athens finally voted to execute him, it wasn't about corrupting the youth. It was because the entire city was just done with being constantly roasted by some barefoot dude in a sheet. It was less tragedy, more a collective, furious, ancient Greek eject button. Number 2. Thomas Crapper, Victorian England, the master scammer. That charming story about Thomas Crapper inventing the toilet, a complete load of BS. He had zero to do with creating the flush toilet. That tech was ancient, invented by Sir John Harrington ages ago. Crapper was basically a 19th century influencer and a genius marketer. He knew the assignment. Put his name, Crapper, in massive letters on every single toilet he sold. He didn't invent the product, but he completely perfected the branding. His scam was so good that when American soldiers saw the name, they brought it home as a permanent, iconic slang term. He was the ultimate marketing king. Number 3. Al Capone, Chicago Mob, the guy who got jumped for being sleazy. Al Capone, Scarface. You picture a cool, violent, dramatic origin story for that scar, right? The actual truth is hilarious and super pathetic. He got his legendary facial slash because he made a truly gross, sleazy comment about a woman in a bar. Her brother, some random guy, immediately took a knife and gave Capone the impromptu facelift. The most feared mob boss in America, a guy who terrified a city, got his signature mark because he couldn't control his mouth and got schooled like an unruly kid. His rivals weren't using Scarface. They were whispering about the creep who got beat up in a bar. Number 4. Mark Twain, American author, the Whiskey Whisperer. You hear that Mark Twain's pen name is this beautiful riverboat reference? Cute, but boring. The reality is totally on brand for a guy who loved to drink. It was a bar tab cheat code. In the messy, boisterous saloons, if Twain wanted the bartender to pour him 2 more whiskeys and add it to his running tab, he'd just yell out, "Mark Twain," meaning literally, Mark II drinks. It had zero to do with river currents and everything to do with minimizing the wait time for his next shot. The name wasn't a historical tribute, it was a practical pre-order for his future buzz. Number 5. The Laughing Buddha, global icon. The wrong guy. Everyone recognizes the jolly, plump, laughing Buddha, the ultimate symbol of happiness and luck, except he's not the Buddha. It's like comparing the Pope to a celebrity chef. The real Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, was a skinny ascetic who preached giving up all pleasure. The laughing dude, Budai, is a Chinese folk hero whose only visible philosophy is that there's always room for dessert. The global market looked at the two options, the fasting guru or the jolly fat guy who looks like he just won the lottery, and everyone screamed, "Give us the fat happy one!" It's a colossal historical switcheroo. Number 6. Vincent van Gogh, Post-Impressionist, the minor lobe damage. The story of Van Gogh hacking off his entire ear is one of history's most famous and dramatic moments. But history, as always, is a total drama queen. He didn't take off the whole thing. Medical records confirm he only sliced off a tiny bit of his earlobe. Still messed up, sure, but it's the difference between telling people you survived an apocalypse versus surviving a nasty paper cut. Sad guy slices a small chunk off his ear doesn't exactly sell millions of museum tickets. So the mythmakers cranked the dial to 11 to give the story some serious gore and trauma. Number 7. Baron Munchausen, the ultimate liar, the victim. Baron Munchausen is the global mascot for pathological liars, the guy who wrote a cannonball and went to the moon. The ultimate punchline? He was a real person and was completely screwed over. The actual Baron was just a chill German soldier who liked to tell slightly exaggerated war stories at parties. Then some hack writer stole his name, added a ton of completely insane fan fiction about moon visits and cannonballs, and made him instantly famous. The poor man's reputation was destroyed, and he died bitter, forever stuck with a fame he never earned. Number 8. Thomas Jefferson, founding father, the hypocrite boss. Thomas Jefferson writing the words, "All men are created equal," while owning hundreds of human beings, including his own mistress, Sally Hemings, and the children they had together, is a level of psychological denial that belongs in an art gallery. He would literally sit there, drafting the nation's Declaration of Freedom, while his own family members were living as his property outside his door. This is beyond political contradiction. It's a terrifying mental double bind. He wrote the ultimate freedom document while being the ultimate freedom denier to his own kids. Number 9. Robin Hood, English outlaw, the gritty medieval thug. The Robin Hood legend is pure fantasy, the dashing socialist in green tights stealing from the rich to help the poor. If he even existed, the reality was way darker. The oldest ballads don't describe a social justice warrior. They describe a straight-up violent thug, a middle-class guy who was simply excellent at robbery and murder. Anyone with cash was a target, not just some cartoon sheriff. The give to the poor part, that was almost definitely added centuries later as PR to make the guy sound less like a random medieval killer and more like a hero. Number 10. Michelangelo, Renaissance artist, the freelancer's nightmare. We picture Michelangelo painting the Sistine Chapel ceiling in a spiritual trance. He'd tell you that's garbage. He absolutely despised the job. He saw painting as a soft hobby for weaklings. He was a sculptor. He spent 4 agonizing years flat on his back with paint dripping in his eyes, non-stop complaining about his Pope boss and his back pain. He literally wrote a poem about how the whole ordeal was turning him into a hunchbacked little goblin. It wasn't a divine journey. It was the freelance gig from hell that he only took because he was broke. Number 11. Galileo, Renaissance scientist, the fancy house arrest. When you hear Galileo was imprisoned by the Inquisition, you picture a nasty, cold dungeon. That's exactly what the church wants you to imagine. The reality is that Galileo's prison was a series of insanely luxurious private residences. He started off locked up in a wealthy cardinal's villa in Rome, then a palace, and finally house arrest at his own super comfortable Tuscan mansion. He had maids, great wine, and an amazing view. It was less punishment, more like being grounded by your rich parents in a multi-million-dollar home. Number 12. Casanova, Renaissance man, the Swiss Army knife of chaos. History has totally shrunk Casanova down to one thing: a skirt chaser. That's like only remembering Michael Jordan for his golf game. The real Casanova was a genius polymath and a total whirlwind. Yes, he slept around, but on the side, he was also a spy, a mathematician, a lottery founder, and a con artist. He translated Homer for fun and pulled off one of the most legendary prison breaks ever. Reducing him to just a lover is a crime. He was the Swiss Army knife of intellectual and romantic chaos. Number 13. Howard Carter, Egyptologist, the archaeological thief. Howard Carter, the guy who discovered Tutankhamun's tomb, is hailed as an epic hero. The official story is dedication and discovery. The truth? He was basically a tomb raider with a fancy degree. There's massive evidence that Carter and his rich sponsor snuck into a smaller hole in the tomb months before the official reveal. They definitely snagged some smaller, easy-to-pocket artifacts before resealing the hole and putting on a huge show for the cameras. He didn't just discover history, he was eating the frosting off the back of the cake before anyone else showed up. Number 14. Emperor Nero, Roman Emperor. The Fiddle Fake News. The image of Emperor Nero calmly fiddling while Rome burned is the ultimate symbol of terrible leadership. It's also 100% fake news cooked up by his political enemies. First, fiddles hadn't been invented. Second, the guy wasn't even in Rome when the fire started. He was at his villa miles away. When he heard, he rushed back and immediately started relief efforts, using his own money to help the homeless. He was a complete jerk and a tyrant in a dozen other ways, but the one thing everyone remembers him for is a total fabrication designed to destroy his reputation. Number 15. Ferdinand Magellan, Explorer, the Glorified Starter. Ferdinand Magellan is famous for being the first person to sail around the whole planet. Here's the kicker. He didn't do it, not even close. Magellan got killed in a pointless, stupid local brawl in the Philippines about halfway through the journey. The guy who actually finished the insane, deadly trip was some much less famous sailor named Juan Sebastián Elcano. Magellan got all the historical glory for starting the trip and dying dramatically, while Elcano did all the actual miserable work of finishing it and got a historical footnote. Ultimate group project tragedy. Behind every grand statue is someone hoping you never read the fine print. So tell me, who's the greatest con artist in history that deserves a public unmasking? Drop your verdict in the comments and let's get messy. If this truth demolition made you grin, hit like and subscribe. More reputations are about to crumble.